300 years ago, the river goddess blessed twin brothers, but one brother broke his sacred promise. A goddess scorned never forgets. Now both sons must pay for their father's greed. He thought he could deceive the river goddess, but the waters remember everything. In Amata, the river was more than water. It was life. It was spirit. It was divine. The people worshipped Enyanwu, the river goddess, who blessed their crops, filled their nets with fish, and protected their children from harm. Every year, during the festival of the flowing veil, the village gathered on the riverbank to honor her with songs, dances, and offerings of palm oil, yams, and kola nuts. The river sang back, its voice sweet and warm, a promise of prosperity. But one year, the song changed. In those days, Amata was a place of laughter and light. The sun rose golden over the roofs and the air was thick with the smell of roasting maize and wood smoke. Children ran barefoot, laughing and playing while women pounded yam in heavy mortars as they gossiped under the shade of the big Iroko tree. Men made nets and carved canoes. The river was the most important thing in the village. In the morning, women would come to the river with their wrappers, singing as they washed clothes and filled their pots with water. The fishermen would push their boats in the water, moving their paddles quietly, hoping the river goddess would help them catch fish. Even the elders, with their wrinkled faces, would sit by the river and tell stories about Enyanwu once saved the village when there was no rain, or how she sent every rain to wash away sickness. When it was time for the festival of the flowing veil, the whole village was full of joy. You could smell palm oil and kola nuts in the air. People played drums and flutes, and white clothes waved in the wind. The priestess, face usually covered in river mud, would lead everyone in dancing. She stamped her feet and sang loudly to praise the river goddess. But even when sun is shining, bad things can still happen. Elder Okoro was a rich and important man in the village. He was supposed to provide a sacred white goat, blessed by the priestess, to offer to Enyanwu. Okoro wore nice clothes and gold rings, and his house was one of the biggest in Amata, but he was never satisfied. As the festival got closer, Okoro started thinking about his own farm and his own money. He looked at the strong, healthy goat and thought, why should I give away my best goat? The goddess will not know. So late at night, when everyone was sleeping, he exchanged the good goat and put a weak, sick goat in its place. The sick goat's eyes were dull and it could barely stand. Okoro told himself it was just a small trick, and that the goddess would never notice. The next morning, the priestess blessed the goat and the people sang and danced, lifting their voices to the sky. But the river did not answer. The water did not move, and the air felt heavy, as if something bad was about to happen. The river roared and made a loud noise and the ground trembled. Enyanwu, the river goddess, rose from the water. She was beautiful and terrifying. Her skin was green like fresh leaves. Her hair was black and moved like snakes, and she had yellow eyes like a cat. How dare you cheat me? She shouted. You, Okoro, and all your people have broken the covenant between us. If you can lie to me, you must pay a bigger price to restore my trust. From this day, I will take a human soul every 30 days. This will remind you of your dishonesty. Only when you understand what true sacrifice means will I forgive you. The village wept, but their cries fell on deaf ears. Okoro's family felt the shame and people spoke badly about them for years. And so the river kept taking people, month after month, year after year, until the village of Amata became small. The laughter was replaced by mourning and the festival was no longer joyful. The first person the river took was a small child called Nkem, who had just learned how to walk. Her mother cried loudly all night, and the whole village came to comfort her. But there was nothing anyone could do. The next month, the river took an old man. After that, it was a young woman who had just gotten married, and then a fisherman who had just finished making a new canoe. Every month, the river took someone, and every time, the village became smaller, quieter, and more afraid. People stopped coming to the river in the morning. The women washed their clothes, are always looking at the water with worry. The fishermen no longer sang when they threw their nets, and parents told their children to stay away from the river. But the river's voice was sweet and tempting. It called to the children, it sang to them, and sometimes it took them too. The festival was no longer the same. There was no more music and dancing like before. Only a few people came, and their faces looked tired and sad. The priestess became old, her hair turning white like the foam on the river, and her prayers became weaker every year. The elders spoke in low voices, blaming Okoro's family, blaming bad luck, and sometimes blaming themselves. Ata and Atebo were twins born under the shadow of their great-grandfather's sin. They were twins who looked exactly the same, but they were not the same inside. Ata was brave and liked to explore. He was always the first to climb a tree or chase after a lizard. Atebo was quiet and liked to think. He watched everything and was always deep in thought. Their mother, Mrs. Azuka, loved them very much. In the evening, she would tell them about the curse story with her voice always sad. It was Elder Okoro, our ancestor, who brought this curse upon us, she would say. Every 30 days, we lose another soul, and every day we pray for forgiveness. One night, as they lay on their mat and listened to the river, they made a promise to each other. We will end the curse, Ata said. We will save our village. Atebo agreed, but deep inside, he was scared. One evening, as the moon shined, the village gathered by the river. A herbalist, who was now old and fragile, raised his staff and called out to Enyawu. Goddess of the river, hear us. For generations we have paid your price, but our people are few and our children are scarce. If this continues, no one will be left to honor you or to remember your name. Please, Enyawu, we beg you. Is there no smaller price? Is there no way to end this curse? Suddenly, the wind stopped and the crickets went quiet. Even the frogs held their tongues. The river started moving, but not like before. It turned and twisted as if someone was tearing a big pot. Then from the middle of the water, Enyawu rose. She was both scary and beautiful. You dare to bargain with me? She said. Her voice was sweet but sharp. You who cheated me and broke the covenant? I have taken your soul to teach you loyalty, to remind you of my power, but I am not without mercy. I will offer you a way to end this curse, but the price will be great. Give me a twin, one soul, split in two, a perfect offering to restore the balance your ancestor destroyed. Give me this, and I will take no more souls. But if you refuse, the river will continue taking lives until Amata is nothing but dust. The village was silent and everyone felt the weight of our words. A twin. There was only one set of twins in Amata, and that was Ata and Atebo. The elders turned to Mrs. Azuka with their eyes filled with desperation. It was your family's sin that brought this upon us, one elder said. It is only right that your family ends it. Mrs. Azuka wept and held her sons close to her chest. Ata and Atebo looked at each other. They did not need to speak. They understood each other. They knew what they had to do. That night, as the village slept, Ata quietly left the house. I will go, he whispered to Atebo. You must stay for mother and for the village. One of us is enough. Before Atebo could stop him, Ata ran to the river and walked into the water. The river swallowed him and the night was silent once more. Atebo woke up to find his brother gone. His heart was heavy, like a stone inside his chest. Every night he heard the river's song, the same song that took Ata. It followed him into his dreams. In his dreams, he saw Ata, not as a boy, Atta's skin was like fish scales. His eyes glowed like moonlight on water. And his voice was not human. It was deep like the river. And it called Atebo's name. Atebo, come back to me. Atebo woke up sweating and his mouth was wet, as if he had just been pulled from the river. His hands were shaking. When it touched his face, it felt strange, like it was not his own. He wondered if the river was changing him too. One evening, Atebo could not take it anymore. He picked up his notebook, a small knife, and a calabash of palm oil. He went to the riverbank while the moon was full. The water sparkled under its light, but it was not beautiful. It was dangerous. Atebo felt it. The air was thick as if it was holding its breath. He sat down, opened his notebook, and he wrote, "The river took my brother. Now I am alone. I do not feel like myself. I am Atebo, but I feel like Atta. I hear him. I see him. Is he really calling me? Or is the river lying? I must find out. I must save him. If I do not, I will never be free. And the village will never be free. Great-grandfather Okoro, your sin is ours, but I will end it." He closed the notebook and looked at the water. Then he spoke with a loud voice that broke the silence of the night. "Enyawu, goddess of the river, I know you can hear me. You took my brother Atta, but you promised the curse will end with a twin. So why do I still hear him? Why does the river still sing? Show yourself." The wind stopped. The crickets and frogs went quiet. The river began to move, and then from the middle of the water, Enyawu rose, a form both beautiful and terrifying. "You call me, boy?" she asked. Her voice sounded like the song Atebo heard in his dreams. It was sweet, but it made his stomach turn. "You dare to shout at me?" Atebo stood up. His legs were shaking, but he did not run. "You took my brother, Atta, to end the cause our great-grandfather started. But I hear him and I still see him. Is he free? Or is he your prisoner? You promised to spare the village. But what of us, the twins of Okoro's line? Show me Atta. Let me see him." The goddess laughed, and her voice sounded like glass breaking. "Oh, foolish boy. You think a twin is one soul? A twin is one soul split in two. I took Atta, but the offering is not complete without you. Your great-grandfather cheated me, and so his line must pay. Come into the water, Atebo. Come and join your brother, so the curse will end. But if you refuse, and the river will take another soul in 30 days, and then another, until Amata is no more." Atebo's heart broke. Tears fell from his eyes. "You lie! You said a twin will end it. Why must it be both of us?" Enyawu's eyes narrowed and her smile quarreled. "A twin is not one, boy. A twin is two. A perfect balance and a perfect offering. Your great-grandfather's sin was great, and so the price must be great. Come, and the village will live. Stay, and the river will drink until there is nothing left." The goddess raised her hand, and the water parted. In the middle of the river was Atta, but he was not the same again. His skin was silver and his fingers were webbed. His eyes were empty like two black stones. He floated in the water, not moving, not breathing, but alive. "Atta!" Atebo shouted. "Atta, it is me! It is Atebo! Do you remember me?" Atta turned his head slowly, like he was waking from a long sleep. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Then a voice spoke, but it was not Atta's. It was Enyawu's voice coming from Atta's mouth. "He does not remember you, boy. He is mine now. His soul is tied to the river and he is happy here. Why do you want to take him away?" Atebo thought of his mother, her tears and her prayers. He thought of the village and the quiet festival. He thought of his great-grandfather, whose greed had doomed them all. And he thought of Atta, his twin, his other half, his mirror. He could not leave him here. He stepped into the water and it was cold, like ice. but it burned like fire. He walked deeper until the water reached his waist, then his chest, then his neck. Enyawu watched him with her yellow eyes glowing. She reached out her hand, her nails sharp like claws. "Come, boy," she whispered. "Come to me." Atebo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He stepped forward and the water swallowed him. Enyawu laughed with her voice echoing through the river. She felt Atebo's soul enter her, strong and bright, like a flame in darkness. Her skin turned darker and her eyes burned with new powers. She was strong, powerful and divine. She kept Atebo and his soul was tied to the water. Weeks passed and the village waited, hoping Atebo would return, and they thought maybe the course was over. Every day Mrs. Azuka sat by the river staring at the water and waiting for her son. Her heart was broken because Atta was gone too. The elders prayed, but even they were starting to lose hope. The river remained silent and its songs sounded cruel but distant. Then one evening, after 3 weeks of silence, something happened. The river moved. The fishermen were casting their nets when they saw it. A boy, coming out of the water. His body dripping and his face pale, but they knew who he was. They ran to help him out of the river. But it was Atta, and he was alive but empty. His eyes open but vacant, and he was still breathing, but the spirit was gone. He could not speak or feel. "Atta!" Mrs. Azuka cried, running to him, holding him tight. My son! You have come back!" The village rejoiced, hailing Enyawu's mercy, believing the curse was over. One night, when the moon was low, the river rolled, but this time it was not water making noise. It was a bright light. A bright and burning light filled the sky. The ground shook and the trees bent as Enyawu came out of the water. She looked stronger than ever. Her skin was bright like the sun and her hair moved like a dark storm. Her voice was so loud that it made the earth shake. "People of Amata," she shouted with her eyes glowing. "You think your debt is paid? You think the curse is gone? Fools! I never wanted a twin soul to end your curse. I wanted it to save myself. Your ancestors' lie made me weak, and I have been taking souls to stay alive. The first twin was weak, no use to me. But the second twin, the strong one, his soul has made me whole again and more powerful than ever. I will keep him. His soul will stay in the river to feed me. But the river is hungry, and your debt is not paid. So from now on, I will take 2 souls every 30 days to keep my strength. Serve me or die." The village was silent as everyone felt the weight of our words. They had been tricked. The twins, those brave boys, were gone for nothing. Mrs. Azuka cried, holding Atta's empty body, and her voice filled the night. The elders cursed Enyawu's name. Deep in the river, Atebo's soul was trapped, and he could not speak because he was now a gift the goddess took for herself. This is the story of Atta and Atebo. But it is not the end, because the river never ends. It flows, it sings, and it waits. And in Amata, the people remember. They remember the twins and the goddess, and the cost of a promise their ancestor broke. This story shows us that being honest and keeping our promises is very important. When someone lies or cheats, it can hurt not just them, but many people, even for a long time. True sacrifice means giving what really matters, not just what is easy. To fix what is broken, we need to be brave, work together, and care for each other. The river's course reminds us that every action has consequences, and we must respect nature and the promises we make to live peacefully. Real talk. If you were the mermaid, what would you have done? No judgment. Be honest. Tell me your choice and your reason. I want to know what drives you. Join our storytelling tribe. Every tale teaches something powerful about life.